Welcome to the Black Estate Podcast, where real estate, business, and culture effortlessly come together. I'm your host, Tinisha Williams, and this is the place where we explore the journeys that build legacies. Expect conversations with a natural flow, sharp insights, and all the real talk that makes the Black Estate more than just a magazine. It's a movement. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Black Estate podcast. It's me again, Tinisha Williams, your host. And today we have a very special guest, someone who truly embodies evolution, legacy, Black excellence, from the mic to the boardroom, from the stage to the screen. He's done it all, and he's still building. He got his start as a rapper with legendary No Limit Soldier, standing side by side with Master P during one of hip hop's most iconic eras. And since then, he's become an actor, a powerful voice in media, and the mastermind behind the Holdin podcast, where he gives raw, real, and respectful interviews with hip hop's biggest legends and cultural pioneers. Big Court, welcome to the Black Estate podcast, and it's an honor to have you on, and thank you so much. So take us back to those No Limit days. What was that era like for you?
The way to get on was get a record deal, so how do you get to the record companies? So what I would do is I would look for the addresses on the back of the CDs and tapes. And with that, I would put packages together. Now, mind you, I'm 17 years old.
So what was that package like?
I didn't realize what I was putting together was a press kit. I was, 17. But my common sense led me to believe that, okay, they need to know who we are. So I hand wrote the bios. Then I was like, well, damn, they need to know what we look like. So we went to 1 hour photo, did our best B-boy stands, pictures. And so
then you have all your fatigues when you sent your picture?
No. The fatigue, that understanding hadn't even come into No Limit.
Oh, okay. They wasn't even there yet.
They weren't No Limit soldiers at that point.
Oh, okay.
Because this is 1995. So this is when No Limit is still in the area.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I sent a bunch of demos out to a bunch of major record labels. Nobody ever responded. And so some of the packages I would get back that would have a stamp on it that said, we don't accept unsolicited material. I didn't know what that meant. So, again, 17, no reference point, no coaching. So I said, well, let me try to seek out some smaller labels. I didn't have the verbiage of independent. I didn't know what that was. But so I sent packages out to Ruthless Records, Dog Day, In a Minute, Black Market, Rap-A-Lot, and so forth. At the time in 95, I was really on Ruthless Records. It was a lady named Cassandra Ware who was super nice. She worked with E. And I called her so much to where when I called, she would be like, how you doing, Courtney? Kind of like, it's you again. And she'd be like, Eric is on tour. He hasn't got the tape yet, whatever. So finally, I say about the end of 94, I can't remember. But it was a few months before E passed away. And she was like, hey, Eric finally got your package, yada, yada, yada. So he dies in March. So it was like, oh, shit, back to the drawing board. Right. So at the time, there was a friend of mine named Dank Nitty that rapped with us. Everybody would say he sounded like Master P. I had never heard of Master P at that point.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I started kind of investigating who was Master P. And I think 99 Ways to Die came out. So when 99 Ways to Die came out, I got the address to his record label on the back of the CD. So I sent him several packages, and he had a voicemail. I used to purposely fill up the voicemail so nobody else could leave voicemails. Oh, wow. So all he would hear is, did you do this every day?
Your hustle was impeccable at 17 years old. Like, wow.
Yeah. I was persistent as hell. Like, you was going to have to tell me no and get the fuck away from you. Right. I was like a easy no. He ended up calling back, and that's when he flew us out to the Bay Area, and we did Down South Hustlers.
Wow.
Which went gold in October of 97. So technically, we were the first rap artists to bring a gold plaque back to Kansas City.
Wow, that's huge. Because he was one of the first. He's the OG, for one, of independence as far as being an independent record label. There weren't really record labels back then getting those $1 million deals and those multi-million-dollar deals. At the peak of No Limit and when you first joined them, what was that whole era like for you? Coming in young and just managing all that. For one, managing your new fame with a gold record. Were you touring yet, or like what was that era like for you?
Well, just to stay in line with history, P wasn't the first. He had, there were people. He learned the game from Uncle St. Charles, the wet up in the Bay, who was with Solar Art Music Group. So you did have people. You had, E40 with Sick Ritter record.
Right.
He had get a deal with Jive Records. You had Uncle Luke over in Miami. You had Rap a Lot. So you did have some people that already had
Was independent. Okay.
And what made P's deal so unique and why he made so much money, it was kind of an anomaly, if you really want to be honest. I already didn't expect for him to sell like he sold or have the hustle that he had. They expected him to maybe move a couple 100,000 units, so that's why he got that 85-15 deal, and basically he's getting $7 off each CD. He never really took any money from Priority, because he had already kind of built a fan base. So what happens is now you do the math, $7 a CD. They're thinking he might do 100,000, 150,000. He's gold and platinum. You know what I mean? Right. So like, oh shit, this
blew everybody mind.
Yeah, we have to play catch up. My tenure with No Limit is very different from many. For one, 90% of the artists from No Limit were from the South, from Louisiana, either Baton Rouge or New Orleans. We were the only groups that weren't from the South, us being from Kansas City, Missouri. We recorded an album called 100% Gang. It's actually on the inside of Down South Hustlers. But the album never came out. So there was like some internal stuff going on, like my that I rap with, him and P were like oil and water. They did not get along. And so it was kind of one of those situations. So we ended up going back to Kansas City. And then that's when I started putting out a bunch of independent records. But I always maintained a relationship with P. So then when I moved to LA in 2003, he moved to LA in about 2001. That's when we reconnected and was rocking every day. And then, but at that point, I kind of stepped out of music and I was working with him as an executive at New No Limit and No Limit Forever.
Nice.
So my path with No Limit is very different. It was like I started as a rapper at the very beginning, and then I really wasn't around for the heyday. But then after, when he rebranded, then I come on as an executive. So,
Nice. So that leads really to my next question. You reinvented yourself in a lot of powerful ways, from a rapper to entrepreneur to podcaster to actor. What would you say has really been the common thread, and really the mindset or mission that carries you through every chapter of that? What made you want to stay in the entertainment industry instead of, just becoming an exec and being behind the scenes?
Really, I'm a creative. I'm a creator. Again, like I said, my default setting is to create. When I was young, I would paint, I would draw, I would write. So I always like to say, well, when I was younger, I was probably about 80% talent, 20% suit, meaning executive. Now I'm really about 50-50, So I just enjoy creating, whatever that is, whether that's acting, whether that's producing a movie or and being a producer, you have to be able to put the right elements together, Stuff that I produce, I usually come up with the synopsis of it. I put the people in place to bring that vision, to fruition and bring it to life. So that's still all creative. Even with the podcast, it's the art of creating the moment and the conversation. So yeah, it's the artist in me, so that's what keeps me going in terms of being out in front, As far as acting, a lot of times people reach out to me for the roles that I've done. It's just, relationships. And if, people figure I can do it, and I'm easy to work with. So a lot of times people just be like, hey, I know someone, they're looking for a person like this, or people will say, hey, I need you for this. Are you available? So yeah, that's what keeps me kind of in front of the camera.
Definitely. So, as working with some of the people that you work with that have really been up there in business, because you seem like you have the business mindset just naturally. Where did that come from? Is that something that you just always had, or did being around? Um, would you consider Master P kind of like a mentor?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're not around someone like that and you don't learn
Pick
anything.
up nothing.
You know,
Right. Definitely.
yeah, but I think it was always there. It was always something intrinsic in me, and of course, I think being around certain individuals, their influence, and not just P. There's other
Right.
people as well, and it just fosters that understanding. And as they say, your vibe attracts your tribe. So
Definitely.
I've always kind of been surrounded by people older than me and actually people more advanced than me as well. So yeah, it fostered something that was it well, I should say it nurtured something that was already there. And I've thought about that, just kind of and that's the thing. A lot of times we don't know our lineage like that. We don't know our family history. So I don't know where the entrepreneurial spirit really came from.
A lot of people just either have it in them or they don't. Like you said, from 17, all the work that you was putting in, you were already, doing press kits before you knew what a press kit was.
I think, well, if I had to be honest, and I think it's that, but I
Mhm.
also think it was how I was raised.
Mhm.
I think that early foundation of my grandmother making me read the dictionary and the encyclopedia, then quiz me on the words. She would always tell me, if you can speak well and you have good manners, it gets you in door that money can't.
Definitely.
Um, so I think that and me being the first grandchild, and I was always on like a little prince. So I had a lot of love and a lot of support. So I was always kind of taught, it was put in me that I can do anything I wanted to do. So there was a level of confidence that I had from a young child. So I think that with on top of whatever idea I got in my head, I just figure I shit. You
Right.
know what I mean? I never yielded to fear it was nothing that I never thought, oh man, that could never be me. I could never do that. I never subscribed to that. So I think, and it's not lost on me that unfortunately, there are a lot of kids that didn't have that and they had to learn at some point in their lives. So I think my upbringing, had a lot to do with that as well.
I would say that definitely stands out when you're doing your podcast. What I've noticed that makes your podcast different from any other that I've seen is the way that you actually connect with the people that are on your podcast. You're always very respectful.
Yeah.
I've never really heard you on there talking shit about nobody or like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people get caught up in like the gossip of what's going on and with the actors and in the music, and there's so much going on to talk about, but you've always stayed very grounded. And I mean, I watched your podcast the other day and I was in tears when you were talking with Baby Jade. And like, I'm like, this man is like the Black Oprah. He got people on his show crying. Like, you talk about some real issues that you don't really hear most artists or even rappers wanting to express or talk about. So how do you get people to open up like that? Are these relationships that you've had prior to interviewing or meeting with them? So is it comfortable when you bring them on and it's just like talking to a friend? Or is that just kind of your nature? You just kind of know how to connect
It's
with
a
folks.
Yeah, it's a skill set that I just didn't realize I had. Someone pointed it out. Um, some people I have had relationships with, but um, yeah. So I had X-Rated. X-Rated is a rapper from good friend of mine from Sacramento. He did like 26 years in prison.
Wow.
So when he got out, he came to my podcast and we talked for about 3 hours. And he had one of his business partners with him, who was a middle-aged, older kind of white gentleman, but he had a British accent. And he sat there for the whole 3 hours. And this was like this was when I was first starting the podcast. And he just kind of pulled me to the side and was like, man, he was like, I was really engaged. He said, you have a gift, you have a skill set. He said, don't lose that.
Right.
I didn't really understand what he was talking about, but the more that I did it, I said, oh, okay. You know, um, Yeah, that's I think it's just something innate that everybody has their gifts, and P would call me the hood Oprah. He would say,
So, sir, somebody else has said
and
that. Okay.
yeah, because I've had a couple people come on my show and cry. Some gangsters on.
Right, no, I'm saying I've seen them like really talk about some
Yeah.
some personal stuff and that you would never know about these artists or these rappers. I'm like, what is he saying to make them open a
Damn near.
out?
I had Glenn Plummer. He came on the first time, and he shed some tears, and so he just recently came back on, and it was super funny
Mhm.
because he walked in. He said, "Now, okay," he said, "Now you're not gonna get me this time." He said, "I'm ready for your ass." You know what I mean? So he so I don't know. Somewhere in the interview, he got to talking, and
Got it out of
he was like, "Fuck you." Cute. You're not gonna do it again. You start laughing. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It's just it.
Well, it's definitely a gift. It's a gift because it gives us a chance to really connect with these artists and to see them in a different light and, to really see them off screen and who they are and also to kind of know what struggles they've been through, which makes us want to get behind them even more to see them coming back. Um,
Of course, and they've all been touched in different ways. Like just kind of going to that moment with Glenn. The first moment, him talking about the love he had for his no, it was the love he had for his brother. It was the support his brother gave him when he was coming up. Then he broke down again, just talking about his role in the movie South Central, and he was
Mhm.
how the scene at the end when he's holding his son and he got the gun and him a dude standing off or whatever. He was just saying how the words was just pouring through him. He was like, I don't even know how I was doing it. I was just in the moment, but it made him emotional in that point. So I had Mob James from Death Row. He was Death Row Muscle or whatever back in the day with Suge Knight,
Mhm.
and he was a big Pyru in Compton,
Mhm.
and he talked about because he was a vicious, feared gang dude,
Mhm.
Compton, but as I start peeling back the layers, he started breaking down and, he divulged that he had been abused by his stepfather,
Mm.
his mother was indifferent toward him,
Mm.
opposed to his brothers. And he created this persona of Mob James to protect,
Wow.
the person.
Right.
And he shed tears. Like really. It was like he just needed.
That's deep. I mean, to even think
No,
like, gosh, like, a lot of us have been, a lot of us in the Black community have been through different traumas, childhood traumas. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday, and how those things don't really come up until you're grown, until you're like in your 40s and your 50s, and all of a sudden you start thinking about your patterns and why you are a certain way. Yes, for him to bring that up, I mean, that's really deep. It's hard for a man to talk about something like that for one, especially when they've been abused, by another male. So, like I said, you definitely have a gift because you got people. Go ahead.
I just want to clarify, he was physically abused.
Physically,
So
okay.
yes, his
Okay,
stepfather
good, good.
he
Yeah.
used to beat him.
Yeah, and I mean that's still is bad, but yeah, I just love the way though that people feel like they can open up with you. There's a lot of popular podcasts out there. You hear about Club Shay Shay and all that, and really I don't see anybody like I said that connects with them such as you do. So I just want to say keep up the good work with what you're doing. And while we're on Holding Court, let's talk about what made you want to create a space to preserve and amplify these real hip hop stories? Because I know you bring a lot of the old school artists on, as well as actors, some of our favorite actors from some of the most iconic movies, some of our hood classics that we've grown up watching. What made that be your niche?
Because I wanted to create a safe space
Mhm.
for us to be celebrated, and I wanted to humanize the culture. I saw so much, and don't get me wrong, I know it's a place for the mess, in the entertainment or whatever, but I just felt like a lot of the vitriolic, gossip, messy um content was just kind of taking over and
Right.
misrepresenting, the culture because that's all I was seeing. And, I don't know if it was just me, but that's all that I felt like was pushed to the forefront. So I wanted to, celebrate the people that have accomplished something who I felt like their story should be highlighted. And people I grew up being fans of, that was the other part of it is most of these people I'm fans of as well. Um, so I wanted to humanize the culture, and I wanted to show that we are not even not just with the guests, but even in my presentation and my brand. I wanted to, you know, humanize us and show that we're not a monolith. We're not all stereotypes. We're not all, ghetto and brash and we most of us are law abiding citizens. We're not inherently prone to criminality or ghetto messy shit. You know what I mean? Like I can't articulate. I can't, but I think the difference with me and I think the what sets me apart is I can go in and out of the worlds. I'm adaptable. So I can have someone like a Mob James come on, or I can have someone like a Tico Brown, who was a kingpin in L.A. He was Freeway Ricky Ross's co-defendant, and we can talk gang banging, we can talk dope prices, we can talk what it was back then. But then I can also bring in someone like a Brett Dismute, who is the president of All Black. I can bring Christina Loken in, who's a Hollywood actress, a white woman on top of that, and conversation with her. I can bring business people in, so I think being able to, carry these conversations with different walks of life and different backgrounds. So it's hard to kind of pigeonhole me, but a lot of that were I was influenced by the greats. I grew up watching Arsenio Hall. I grew up watching Barbara Walters, Larry King. So not understanding that because I was always fascinated with interviews as a kid. A kid watching like 60 Minutes and things like
I'm
that.
still a 60
So
minute.
yeah, so fast forward to 30 years, 30 plus years later, these things that I kind of inherently learned are kind of coming to the surface. But I'm just glad that it's resonating with the culture. When I travel and I go places and people show so much love when they do recognize me. Just coming from Essence Fest, man, I got so much love in New Orleans. I took a bunch of pictures and people call out their favorite interviews or moments. And being that we're going, viral with the Damian Hall content, I had people coming up to me.
Yeah, that man, all content is it's off the hook right now. I've been seeing clips of it everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So they, shout out to Damien. I actually just talked to him this morning, but they come up to me just starting a conversation. So really, I mean, so you really believe what shit Damien Hall was saying? You really,
or really think he in the first time
oh no,
R&B artist.
Or some people come up like, he didn't sit on no lies. I agree with Damien, so I just love being able to represent and again, it even, kind of gave him some light, in what he has going on, kind of renews interest in people. So yeah, I enjoy it.
So, is there one interview that if someone that you spoke with that really changed your outlook on life or that gave you a new outlook?
Gave me a new outlook.
Like somebody that you spoke to.
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I wouldn't say a new outlook, but open my eyes to, just kind of a revelation. So I recently shot in Atlanta and um the me coming from Kansas City, Missouri, but living on the West Coast, that Atlanta Southern living is a whole different world. 99% of the guests, and most of them are celebrities or influential people. 99% of the people that sat in front of me grew up with a mother and a father. They grew up kind of middle class, but in Atlanta, the infrastructure, especially back then, it was favorable toward Black people. You had a Black mayor. So they grew up Black mayor, a Black police chief, Black lawyers, Black doctors, Black professionals. And wow. And actually, this was articulated to me by Isaac Hayes III. So, because he was like, I'm going to tell you, he was like, he said, in who you are and how you move and what you bring to the table, you need to move to Atlanta. So he was trying to sell.
People have been telling me to move to Atlanta for years. It is definitely the Black Mecca.
Yeah, but when you talk about the infrastructure and the business of Atlanta, and how the contracts and the diversity and how Black people kind of more or less get a hand in a lot of big business that comes through there, but they grew up seeing these things. And I thought back, to my childhood and coming up in the Midwest, and I was like, wow, damn, I never thought of it like that. Like, I never saw Black professionals like that. Like, everybody I saw were, kind of blue collar workers, Ford, GM, or, those were considered good jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Here and there you would see entrepreneur, like the lady that I grew up with 3 houses down, Miss Joy, she owned a beauty salon, around the corner in the hood. But for the most part, I was like, wow. So going back to your question, that kind of enlightened me. Like, damn, I almost felt like I missed out on a part of the Black experience. Like, I didn't see that. The successful people I saw that really were successful were dope dealers. You know what I mean? So I'm like, damn. So I would say having Isaac Hayes III, that kind of opened my eyes to, just some little differences right there.
Yeah, the first time I went to Detroit, I went there when I was 14 years old and went to high school. And that was my first time seeing Black-owned businesses coming from Oregon, where it is 99.9% white. That's something that we didn't grow up with here. Like, we were all like in a little tiny pocket of Northeast. And a lot of us never left out of Northeast Portland. So to go to like real Black cities like Detroit, like Atlanta, is mind blowing. And so I know exactly what you mean as far as that feeling, driving in Atlanta and you're seeing billboards of Black chiropractors and doctors and, and all the lawyers. And that's why I have the Black Estate magazine, is to really to give Black professionals, a platform so our younger generation can actually see other sides of us besides just what they're showing on TV and aspiring to, everybody wants to be a rapper, singer, an actor, but there's also great jobs behind the scenes, writing for those actors, being on the camera, there's just so many other things they can, that they can do. So I really, I really can understand what you're saying with that. Now, I've heard some news. There's been some rumors that you are actually building your own network now with Ice-T. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and how much of that can you share with us?
I'm super excited about it. You see the emergence of, fast channels, which is free advertiser supported television, right? So TV, Prime, all these things are fast channels. So one of the best businesses is to identify a problem and then solve it. So I saw what Tubi did in terms of, what I like to call gentrifying content, right? They use a lot of Black producers and directors and filmmakers to bring the value and build up the valuation of Tubi. Then they sold it, right? After they sold it, they moved the goalpost, right? So then they made it very difficult for producers in the culture to get their content placed on there. So I said, wow, that's some cold shit right there. So I was like, man, how do we mitigate that? How do we offset that?
Oh, tell us why ownership in media is so important. Like what you were saying as far as Tubi and how they gentrified. I know they did that with Fox as well. When remember they used to play all of our Black shows on there.
Like CW Network.
Yeah, exactly. And then they got this following, and then like you said, they gentrified us out. So tell us why Black ownership is so important in media, as far as our voices to be heard and to, to get us out there in front. And what do you guys plan on doing with your network?
Well, it's a couple reasons. For one, like me being in the media space, understanding that we don't own any of the infrastructure that we use in terms of YouTube, IG, TikTok. It's all rented real estate, right? They control the algorithm. I believe they suppress, minority content, and, they can just do what they want with the following. You can wake up one day, your page is shut down, your followers are stripped and all. So that was part of it, right? As far as me having the podcast and understanding and being frustrated with the algorithms. Secondly, when you get on the production side, right? it's so difficult to get projects greenlit. You basically have to go and pitch and beg a studio to put up the money and pull it together. Those days are over. Those days are over. So, this is why I said, okay, I partnered with Ice T and I was like, man, let's create our own fast channel, our own network. We can, curate our own content. We are in control, so it's nobody telling us what to do, pulling our strings. We provide the platform. We've curated over 1,000 titles. We produce our own tentpole shows. We don't have to wait on a studio. We produce it. Like one of our shows is a show with me and Lazy Bone called Somebody Had to Say It. So that's one of our tentpole shows. We have another show that we working on with Ice. So it was just time, and I wanted to lead the pack. And Fifty Cent is doing something similar. That's what the stamp on it. When I saw 50 doing it and he partnered with Lionsgate, he was like, Court, I think you ahead of the curve on this. I said, hell yeah, we are. So we launched this fall, so you'll be able to go to your app store, download it on your phone. You'll be able to go to Pluto. You'd be able to go to Roku. You'll see the channel OG Network, and you'll see all our content on there, just like you would, Prime or Netflix. It'll be the same way. So really excited about that because that puts us in a power seat. There's
Definitely.
no telling us what we can do, who we can distribute, what we can curate, what we can say, or suppressing an algorithm. It's none of that. We don't have to deal with none of that. So yeah. So that's the importance of ownership because then we're able to extend opportunities to other, content creators and producers.
Definitely. And what type of content can we expect to see on your network? Like, what type of shows are you guys going to have? I know you guys are going to, of course, have the podcast on there.
Yeah.
With you, when you said Lazy Bone,
Yeah. Lazy Bone,
so
Bone Thugs and Heart.
are you guys doing a podcast together? What type of show is that you guys are
No,
putting
it's
on?
not a podcast. It's a
Okay.
TV show. So it's basically it's the hip hop version of First Take, right?
Okay.
So how they get on there and they argue about sports and go through all of that. We basically get on there and argue about music and the culture.
Oh, that's
You
gonna be
know.
dope. That's
So
gonna be
that
dope.
energy pulled into.
Like that Damien Hall debate. It's going on.
Exactly. So, once I learned how passionate people were about the music and it's all subjective, but at the same time, we're respectful in that we're not downing anyone, we're not taking credit away from anyone. But it's a lot of debate and it's some heated debates in there. So that's one of our tempo shows. We have a horror series called Thirst Trap that my daughter and I wrote together. It's a vampire flick, so it's a series
Oh,
of
that's gonna be
like,
amazing.
yeah, I co-star in it as well.
Are you one of the vampires?
No, no, I play the lead, one of the lead characters, but I'm the detective that's investigating the. I don't want to say too much, but yes.
That's gonna be something to look forward to.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So, and we'll have, we'll have classic material on there. We'll have the black exploitation films on there. Uh, the old school kung fu movies we'll have on there. We'll have an array of content because when you think about OG, right? OG food and the theme of our channel is expert. It's going to be everything OG. It's original. It's expert. It's experience. So it's going to be content, surrounded around, it's themed in. We're the experts. We've been around. So a lot of the shows that we have slated or from an OG perspective, and it's gonna definitely ruffle some feathers, because in essence, we're kind of doing away with all the clown stuff that's going on, and we're giving people the reference point of reality. We're getting back to reality
Right,
at an
and not the
even
trash reality. Yeah.
not the trash reality. So it's gonna be big. I'm really excited about it because it's gonna be and it's a arduous task. It's a daunting task. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of back end stuff. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of learning curves because you're talking about technology too. So but I'm excited though. So yeah.
Well, I know you guys are going to have a huge audience. I'm definitely going to support. I know my audience and whoever else is going to support. We've been waiting for something like this, something that we can really call our own, and to know that it's not other people exploiting us, but it's our own people that are really just trying to, keeping us out there, keeping that memory alive of them old great movies and old great kung fu movies. And
Mhm.
so that's exciting. Now, you mentioned your daughter, so I wanted to ask you about her. She is such an amazing co-host. I've seen a couple of your shows together. What made you decide to have your daughter as your co-host?
Well, producer Ken, who's one of my good friends, he started out as my co-host initially. And we were shooting it at his studio,
Hmm.
soundstage in Burbank. But producer Ken got busy. He got a big contract with the NBA and with Capcom, and it kind of, his time was kind of taken to that. So I could have done it myself, but I was like, no. And my daughter, she's a female version of me, so she has the gift of gab. She speaks really well. She's witty. And because she's a young woman, she's a millennial. I wanted to bring in some of that feminine energy to offset my, super alpha male Gen X energy. You know what I mean? Um, so I think it works really well. And it puts us in a space of, there's not many, daddy daughter teams out there.
I haven't seen any, so I think that's really dope because it definitely balances it out. And to get to hear a younger woman's perspective, even some of the conversations you guys have, I'd be like, I don't know if I could talk about that with my father. So I love your guys' relationship. You definitely have a friendship, and to hear her just feel so comfortable and open to talk to you about certain things, and even to be on there with some of them gangsters you be having on there, and for her to be able to, keep her poise, and like I
Yeah,
just.
but she grew up around that. See, I had my daughter when I was 16, so we kind of grew up together. So, I have my daughter has probably been an accomplice in some of the things I did as a youngster. That's
Having that
where it's
baby
all.
riding shotgun.
Oh yeah, for sure. She remembers it too. I exposed my daughter to a lot when I was young, in the streets. And that's what happens when babies have babies, right?
Yeah.
So she grew up in the studio. She grew up around gangsters. She grew up around guns. She grew up around all of that. So, and I respect her as the woman that she is, because people have asked, they're like, man, is it ever uncomfortable for, your daughter or whatever? And I say, no. I said, I respect, that's a young woman. She's my daughter, but she's still she's her own person. She's an adult, so I understand how to navigate the duality of being her father, but then respecting her as an individual.
Right. And it's definitely your legacy. While we're on legacy, let's talk about that. What for your other kids? Because how many children do you have?
Great.
Three children. Are they all into entertainment, or some of them? Because I know, like with my daughters, I have two daughters, 29 and 25. And so my youngest one, she helps me with a lot of stuff. She's into film, and that's my co-producer. So she helps with a lot of things. How do you kind of balance that fatherhood, being in the business, and also trying to, kind of steer them in the way to go as far as your two younger kids? Are they interested in entertainment, or are they like pulled away from and totally interested in other things?
No, my daughter, my co-host is 32. My son is 20. He's an actor.
Oh, okay.
He Yeah, he graduated from UCLA, and he also helps behind the scenes. And my youngest daughter, Courtney, she's 20, and she's a artist. She plays classical piano. She does she does drawings. She does digital drawings, super creative. She's like me times 100. She actually works behind the scenes as well. She shoots all our BTS. She does my daughter's makeup. She styles my daughter. And she actually worked behind the scenes, did some camera work with Billy Cal Evans on the new show.
Oh,
Um, what is it? Mind Your Business, that's on Bounce. So,
nice.
so yeah, so my other
So
two
they're in
kids,
business.
yeah, yeah, and they're more behind it. So my son is an actor, but my youngest daughter, she's all behind the scenes. She's so fascinated. She wants to. do the cameras, she lighting, all of that. Her thing.
Dope, dope. That's awesome. I love the way that you really set the path for them, and that you're ushering them into success. You know, for them being able to work with you, because I know they're going to be on the network with you and have their jobs that they're doing there as well. So,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, they're incorporated in everything. Like even with the series that we have, Thirst Trap. I mean, me and my daughter co-wrote it.
oh,
They'll have bit roles. My daughter is not really in front of the camera type of person. But she's up to it. But that's not where she just wants to be. She'll do it if it's necessary.
right.
Um, but they'll be working behind the scenes and in front of the camera. So yeah, it definitely is a family business. And my daughter, she has her she's a tech founder. She has her all-in-one e-commerce marketplace, which is
Wow. Okay.
so actually my network with Ice-T OG Network
Mhm.
serves as the media partner for her all-in-one e-commerce marketplace. So
I love
how
that.
Amazon, you have Amazon the marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
and then Amazon Prime with the content, the channel, the fast channel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same way kind of how we married what I'm doing with Ice to what she's doing with her marketplace.
I love that. Setting her up for success. That's great. When it's all said and done, as far as your family and the people that look up to Big Court, what do you want people to know about you, and what do you want to be your legacy? I mean, you're creating a lot here, which is definitely going to go down in time. But what do you want to be your main legacy, and for people to really remember about you?
Yeah. Well, that's a layered question.
Right.
You know, I say I always, people don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel.
Right.
So it's
Definitely.
about how, what you contribute to the human experience. You know what I mean? So I just I'm telling you, it's always gratifying when people come up to me or people message me and say, "Hey man, you inspired me in one way or another, or you said something that really touched me, or I did this because you said that, and this was the result, and it was a positive one." So that's the things that I just want to leave a mark. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Where there are people that took something and took something from me. I gave them a piece of me, whether it's information or time or a piece of content I created, something from me that they were able to take and incorporate, and it contributed something positive to them. And also my legacy will be my kids.
Yes.
So
Yes.
them being able to continue on. My daughter, my oldest daughter, especially,
Mhm.
being able, because, we've talked about that. I said, wow, God, God forbid something happened to me. I said, you literally can slide into my seat and keep it going.
Right. Right.
Was like, yeah, she was like, I could. And then I looked at my youngest daughter and was like, okay, so that means that bumps you up from behind the camera to co-host, you
Right.
know, or
Right.
I, like, I was
So
like,
it's all a training experience. So y'all pay attention.
yeah. And so, but going back to, like you said, ownership as well. So that, it's twofold. It's being able to put my kids and my family in positions to be able to carry on. I taught them how to fish. I taught them how, they know how to do everything with what goes on with me. So in case something happens to me, they can keep it going. Um, and then contributing to the world, just the people that follow me, the people that like what I do, just being able to inspire them, and that's what I want my legacy to be, is inspiration.
Nice. Well, with this amazing network that you and Ice-T are working on, I know there's going to be a lot of opportunities that you guys are creating for others. What will some of those opportunities be within your network? Are you guys looking for shows? Are you guys looking for like what do you guys?
Always.
Yeah.
Always, yeah. I mean, we'll have a open door policy. You know what I mean? Kind of like what Tupac had in the beginning. Yeah. So as things develop, as we get closer to our soft launch, we'll put it out there where people can submit, to have their projects placed
Mhm.
on OG work. And yes, it's an open door policy. Of course, there will be, there you still have your deliverable list where
Right.
there be quality control things that have to be in place. But yeah, we'll be accepting all of that probably come September.
Nice. Okay. Now, I know you're a busy man, so I don't want to keep you too long. So I just got a couple more final questions for you. So here at the Black Estate, we're all about legacy. And what's one piece of advice that you'd give to rising entrepreneurs, artists, podcasters, who want to create something that's lasting and that needs to get their followers up?
Yeah.
And I know that's another kind of a double question, but
Yeah, cool. My best piece of advice of what I've learned thus far is be a purpose chaser, not a paper chaser. Because when you do things, when you follow your purpose, the money creep up on you. But when you're chasing money, it's like a shadow. You're never going to catch it, you know. And the reason being is because a lot of times if you're chasing money, that's just a hustle, you know, and there's a time and place for that. That only really kind of applies in the street. But when you're trying to build and really, you know, build a business, a legacy, it's going to take nurturing. It's going to take time. So you have to be passionate about it, right? Because you're not. Let's just face it. You're not going to yield the results like that just off the bat. So that's why you have to love. You have to love it. And if you love it, and you're passionate about it, you're gonna be good at it. And so when you're good at it, that's where you bring the value. The value is gonna be there and people will pay you for that value, whatever that is. So I would say, you know, operate in passion and purpose and not, you know, don't be fueled by money. The money will come. It'll just creep up on you when you're doing what you love.
well, thank you so much for that, you guys. That was a word right there. You guys can follow Big Court at the Holdin Court podcast. Where else can they find you, Big Court?
They go follow me. I at the Holdin Court Podcast on IG, Holdin Court Podcast on Facebook, Holdin Court Podcast on Snapchat, Holdin Court Podcast at Revolt TV and all platforms. Subscribe on YouTube to Holdin Court Podcast and follow me on IG at I am Big Court, and you can hit me up at iambigcourt.com as well.
You guys make sure you follow. He has an amazing podcast. You guys will not be disappointed. It's always entertaining. You may shed some tears. You may laugh. Guys gonna go through all emotional ranges, but definitely follow Big Court. He's somebody that I definitely look up to in the podcast world. He's definitely inspiration to me. And I appreciate you again for taking the time here to come on the Black Estate podcast. They will definitely be seeing more of you. Big Court will be featured in this coming up issue. He is going to be my cover story. So we're going to have some more information, maybe some things that we didn't cover here that you guys will see in the magazine. Make sure you guys follow the Black Estate podcast, the Black Estate IG, the Black Estate magazine, and make sure you support the Black Estate Foundation for Success, which is the nonprofit. It's a prep to pre-apprenticeship and workforce training. And we're also working on building group homes for women that are transitioning back into the community, coming from prison, 18 to 25. If you have a kid, or not a kid, but someone 18 to 25 that needs a program, that needs some mentorship, please send them my way. Would love to sit down with you guys. Here we're all about inspiration. So I'm going to continue to bring people on here that will inspire you guys. Make sure you guys follow. Thank you guys for joining me once again here at the Black Estate Podcast. And thank you again, Mr. Big Court, for showing up. I appreciate you so much. And we'll be seeing you again soon.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.